My parents are going to live in that house, so there's no way I'm going to oppose it. Suddenly, my husband changed his attitude. Was this his plan from the beginning? I decided not to let David and others have their way and took a certain action. I'm Sarah, a 37-year-old office worker. I am currently dating a man named David. David is a colleague from the same company, 5 years younger than me. Handsome, refreshing, and popular due to his friendly approach, it was surprising why David would date me, but unexpectedly, he approached me first. Being with Sarah, I feel at ease, natural. I tend to please everyone and always have a habit of smiling and being kind, which tires me out inside. David. As we started going out for drinks more often, I learned about David's true feelings and inner thoughts and was increasingly drawn to him. Then one day, David confessed, and we started dating. We kept our relationship a secret at work, but that secrecy was somehow enjoyable. Nobody at work knows we're dating. It's fun, like it's our little secret, David said, and I felt the same way. Our relationship smoothly continued. About half a year after we started dating, David invited me to a fancy restaurant with a night view. It wasn't a special anniversary or anything. I felt my heart race with anticipation. Nervously, I continued my meal. Then, after we finished eating, David looked at me seriously. Sarah. Yes? It's only been half a year, but I think it's enough time to think about the future. With that in mind, I want to be with you not just as lovers, but as husband and wife. Will you marry me? Saying so, David presented a ring. I was moved. Yes. And accepted. And so, I decided to marry David. I was overjoyed. Not only because I was marrying the man I loved, David, but also because I could finally make my mom proud. After graduating from college, I had been dedicated to my job at the current company. As a result, I hadn't really dated anyone. Before I knew it, 15 years had passed working at the company. During that time, my dad passed away 5 years ago, and I regretted not being able to show him myself in a wedding dress. But work was enjoyable, and there were hardly any new encounters, so I had no chance to marry. Having gone through all that, I was very happy to have progressed from dating to marriage. I immediately went home to tell my mom about the marriage. Mom, I'm getting married. Really? Congratulations, Sarah. Mom was overjoyed. Seeing her smile made me happy too. What kind of person is he? He's a colleague from work, a very kind and nice guy. That's great. I'll bring him over soon for the marriage greeting. I'm looking forward to it. Later, David and I arranged to visit my home again. Nice to meet you, I'm David. I'm Sarah's mom. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for making time for us. Mom and David greeted each other with smiles, creating a very pleasant atmosphere. We had a nice chat over snacks we brought and coffee Mom made. Mom seemed to really like David, smiling throughout. He's a really good man. I'm happy that Sarah can have a happy marriage. After David left, Mom said that to me. Yeah, I'm sure I can have a happy married life with David. I was confident that marrying the kind David would definitely bring happiness. Later, we went to David's family home to announce our marriage. Nice to meet you, my name is Sarah. Well, I'm glad you came. We're David's mom and dad. Come on in right away. David's parents welcomed us warmly and with smiles. I had been very nervous about how David's parents might react, so their kind welcome was a relief. We talked about various things in the living room. David's parents were both kind and asked me many questions, which helped me relax and enjoy the conversation. Having such wonderful parents-in-law made me feel even more confident about my marriage to David. Soon after, David and I had a family meeting. My mom and David's parents got along well, and the meal at the family meeting was very enjoyable. Later, David and I got married without a hitch. It seems no one at work suspected we were dating, so they were very surprised when we announced our marriage. Indeed, David and I never showed any signs of a relationship at work. We often had lunch at different times and never ate together. So it's no wonder nobody noticed. Still, everyone congratulated us happily. Then David and I slowly started planning our wedding and were able to have it a few months later. The wedding we created together was just as we hoped, and we were thrilled with it. My mom was very moved and praised it highly. After that, David and I went on our honeymoon and started living together when we returned. After getting married, I transferred departments, so we were no longer in the same one. It's a shame not to work together. But maybe it's better for a married couple not to be in the same department at work. Life as newlyweds with David was delightful. Waking up every morning to find David next to me was happiness itself. On our days off, we enjoyed driving, traveling, and spending plenty of fun time together. David could cook, so we shared household chores on weekdays to avoid burdening one another. Thanks to that, we both managed our days comfortably without stress. And my husband was good at cooking, so I always looked forward to David's meals. What's for dinner tonight? Beef stew. I used a pressure cooker, so the beef is tender and falls apart easily. Wow! I can't wait. I'll go change right away. A delicious home-cooked meal would always relieve the fatigue of work. After dinner, David and I would have a leisurely drink and savor our happy moments. Our newlywed life was full of happiness. Also, David cared a lot about my mom and often suggested visiting my parents' home. We should visit Mil Karen often, right? She's living alone, after all. David, thank you. Every time we visited, my mom looked very happy. Thank you for always coming. Oh, don't mention it. This house is big, so cleaning must be tough. I can help if you like. Really? That would be wonderful. David, thank you. Mom is really happy. As I helped clean the house with David, I expressed my gratitude to him. That's good to hear. We're a family now, after all. Now that we're married, I want to take care of Karen too. David. I was touched by his words. Caring for my mom like that, I realized how kind and wonderful a person I had married. Wow, this house really is huge. So many rooms and such a big yard. Indeed, it is. Living in this mansion all this time? You're like a rich girl. No, not at all. Don't be modest, okay? My parents' house is nothing compared to this. Indeed, from the outside, my house might seem like that of a wealthy family. But in reality, it's a very ordinary household. My dad is a civil servant, and my mom worked for a regular company. So their salaries weren't exceptionally high. Our house is luxurious and spacious because my mom's dad was a wealthy landowner. However, my parents never relied on my grandfather's wealth, they always lived on their own earnings. Seeing this, when I was born, my grandfather gave one of his properties to my parents as a gift. Generally, my parents lived modestly, so our lifestyle was quite simple. That's why I grew up with a typical sense of money and even a spirit of saving. So, I'm not really a rich girl. It's not being humble, it's just an ordinary family. Come on, well, that modesty is also one of the great things about you, Sarah. David and I enjoyed cleaning my parents' house like that. Then Mom, who had been cutting meat and vegetables, suggested having a barbecue in the garden. David and I were exhausted from cleaning, so we were thrilled at the idea of a barbecue. Grilling meat and vegetables in the spacious garden, sipping cold beer, was just the best. The weather was great, and I was thirsty, so the beer tasted incredibly good. The meat and vegetables were delicious, and I felt very happy. David, too, was very satisfied. Man, this reward makes all the cleaning effort worthwhile. That's how we spent a great time at my parents' house. It had been about a year since we got married. And our family relationship was good, we were living happy days. But amidst this, Mom suddenly fell ill and had to be hospitalized.
Mom, are you okay?
Oh, sorry for worrying you. Karen, you don't have to get up. It's okay. Thank you, David. Mom had a stroke while shopping at the supermarket and was rushed to the hospital. If she had been at home, she would have been alone. And it might have been too late. The thought of what could have happened scared me. It was fortunate that she was in a public place where an ambulance was called immediately. Mom then had to stay in the hospital for tests and treatment. Well, I just collapsed suddenly, so I don't think it's anything serious. Don't worry too much. You don't have to visit every day, it's a lot of trouble. Mom said this, trying to ease our concerns. But I was really worried, and David felt the same.
Karen says that, but let's visit her every day. We'll leave work on time for a while and go to the hospital together.
David, thank you. It felt so reassuring to have David say that during such times. So, we visited Mom daily. Mom would say, "You don't have to worry so much." But she looked very happy when we came. She must have been lonely in the hospital alone. I hoped that our visits would cheer her up even a little. However, Mom's condition worsened over time. The results of the hospital tests showed that she had cancer. We were told she had about a year left, which shocked me. It was too sad to have such limited time left with my beloved Mom. I had just managed to show her my happy marriage. But as I dwelled on this, the time I could spend with Mom was diminishing. I tried to keep my sadness away from her and always talked with a smile. David frequently accompanied me to visit Mom and talked a lot with her. Thank you both so much. I'm really happy that you come to visit like this. It's only natural. If it were possible, I'd take time off work and be with you all day, every day. You shouldn't say that. You have a long life ahead. You have to do your job properly. I could only visit after work on weekdays, but on weekends, I spent all day visiting. There, Mom would reminisce about my childhood. Lately, David seemed busy with work, even working on weekends at times. Amidst this, something started to bother me. It happened one weekend when I returned home from visiting Mom. When I got home, David, who was supposed to be working, was already there. He seemed to be on a phone call, unaware of my arrival. Who was he talking to? Feeling uneasy, I decided to eavesdrop on the call without David noticing. Then, I heard David saying,
"Yeah, it'll soon be Mom's house. Don't worry, I'm not suspected at all. Once we get the house, it's ours."
I couldn't understand what he meant. What did he mean by house? Not suspected? Could it involve me or Mom? At this point, I couldn't pinpoint anything and had to observe further.
"I'm home."
Since I couldn't get more information by eavesdropping, I decided to stop.
"Oh, welcome back. Sorry, I have to go now. Talk to you later."
Hastily, David ended the call. Who were you talking to?
Oh, it was Mom.
Really? Was there something she needed?
No, not really. She just wanted to check in and I was worried about Karen's health.
That's nice of her to be concerned.
It's only natural for family.
Yes, we're a family, aren't we? I started to feel something off about David's behavior. But in front of me, he was always the kind David, behaving normally. Amidst this, Mom's condition worsened, and she became critically ill. It was too soon for her predicted remaining time. I rushed to be with Mom.
Mom!
Oh, Sarah. I'm sorry for worrying you.
It's okay.
You're missing work because of me.
Don't worry about that. Being with you is my priority right now.
I stayed by Mom's side continuously. David also left work early to be with Mom.
Karen, are you okay?
David, you came too. I'm sorry to show you such a weak state. No, what are you saying? Just rest and don't worry about anything. Sarah, you've been here the whole time, right? Do you want me to get you something to drink?
Yes, thank you.
David cared for me like that. Maybe that phone call was unrelated to me. He seemed so concerned for Mom and me. It must have been my misunderstanding. A few days later, Mom passed away. Since I was off work, I was able to be there at her last moment. Immediately after, I started arranging Mom's funeral. David, while saddened, supported me and actively helped with the funeral arrangements. He truly was a reliable and kind husband. We managed to get through the funeral successfully. But then, I discovered David's true nature. It happened after the funeral had settled down.
What are you planning to do with your mom's house?
David asked me.
I haven't decided anything yet, but why?
Responding to my question, David said,
What about letting my parents live there? Emily and them?
At that moment, I remembered the previous phone conversation between David and his mother, Emily. It turned out the call was indeed about my family home. Suddenly, I felt a surge of distrust towards David.
Why would Emily and her family need to live there?
Well, it would be a waste otherwise, right?
A waste of what? Having that house sit empty. So, you mean to rent it to Emily and her family under my name?
No, I mean, it might be better to transfer the ownership to my dad. Otherwise, it could be complicated to handle any house-related issues, right? David was desperately trying to justify himself.
That would mean I'm just handing over my assets to your father, John. Besides, that house is filled with my memories. I can't just give it away so easily. Well, I get that, but don't you see it's a waste, from my point of view? Even so, handing it over to Emily and her family isn't right. It would be different if we were going to live there.
That's not feasible. It's too far from our workplace.
Then, for now, I'll keep owning the land.
David got furious at my response.
Why can't you just listen to what I'm saying? Wait, David? I'm bending over backward asking you, and you, Sarah, dare to complain.
I was shocked by David's sudden outburst.
Basically, the only reason I married an older woman like you was for that house. I decided to marry you when we shared a taxi from a company drinking party. And I saw you get off at your family home.
So you didn't marry me because you loved me?
Of course not. Don't flatter yourself.
That's awful.
It's your fault for misunderstanding. I'm going to have my parents live in that house, and you can't oppose it.
David's attitude changed suddenly. Was this his plan from the beginning? I was shocked to see David's true nature. All his kindness was just an act to get my family home. And now, the real David was showing his true colors. He wanted to take over my family home and give it to his parents. I decided not to let David and his family have their way and took a certain action. All right. If you want my family home that badly, I'll consider giving it to you.
Yeah. Finally realized your place.
But there are some procedures to go through, so you'll have to wait until that's all sorted. David replied.
Can't be helped.
And immediately called Emily.
Everything went smoothly. We'll have that mansion soon.
Without needing to hide it anymore, David spoke confidently. 2 weeks later, I invited David and his parents to my family home. They arrived smiling. But as soon as they reached the house, they froze in shock.
Hey, Sarah, what the hell is this?
Their surprise was understandable. Unknown to them, I had arranged for the house to be demolished. And in front of my in-laws, the demolition took place. Watching the mansion crumble, they were speechless.
Our house!
Emily lamented. What do you mean?
It's my house, not yours.
Don't joke.
Do you think you can get away with this?
Yes, because it's still under my name. If you want, I can consider selling you the land, now that it's empty.
Of course.
The price will be much higher. Why would you do this, Sarah?
That's my line. David approached me aiming for my family home. That's nothing short of marriage fraud. And you know, when I looked into David, I found evidence of his affair in just these 2 weeks.
What? I may not be able to sue for marriage fraud due to lack of physical evidence. But I will definitely claim compensation in the divorce case due to the affair. And I will certainly divorce you.
No. Compensation in a divorce case would be troublesome. At least transfer this land to me before that. As if. Are you stupid? All you and your family will get is a heap of debt and public backlash. I'm reporting everything to the company. No.
My in-laws collapsed on the spot. Apparently, they had already sold their own home, planning to live in mine. David and his parents managed to rent an apartment, avoiding homelessness, but David became poor due to the compensation he had to pay for the divorce lawsuit. Furthermore, having married me while having an affair with a coworker. And his motive of marrying for my family home got out at work, making it impossible for him to stay at the company. He chose to resign. Currently, he's living a part-time job life, with most of his income going towards the divorce compensation. In such a state, even his affair partner left him, and now he's living a poor life in an old apartment with his parents. Well, it's all David's own doing. As for me, I turned the now empty land into a parking lot, generating income from it. By the way, Mom had another house inherited from Grandpa, which also brought in real estate income. I took over those as well, so now I have multiple sources of income. I'm also doing well in my job, serving as a department head, so I have no financial worries for the future. I'm taking a break from romance for a while, focusing on my job and trying new things to enrich my life.